What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Trucker 219. It is time. We got the full deep dive breakdown on night transportation. One of my subscribers here on YouTube asked me to do a deep dive on night transportation, so I did it. In this video, we're doing our research online. That means looking at night transportation's website, reading reviews on the company, as well as finding some videos right here on YouTube from other drivers that are talking about the company. And we also are talking to a driver recruiter directly from Night Transportation, and we are picking his brain to find out all the information we can about the company. And last but not least, we'll be talking to an actual driver that is currently working for Night Transportation, and we're gonna find out what his experience has been working for them. And don't forget to stay tuned to the end where I tell you whether I would go to work for Night Transportation. All right, let's go. For starters, we're gonna go ahead and click on their website and see what they got going on here. Let's click this drive with Night. Okay, so they got a bunch of job openings here. We got a El Paso, Texas, 81 cents per mile split. So what does 81 cents per mile mean? It means the truck is making 81 cents per mile. So every mile the truck drives, it makes 81 cents. Now, that money is split between you and the other driver. So they require 6 months of over-the-road experience for that. Home monthly, that's not terribly much home time. And it says earn up to $210,000 per team. Okay, so the entire team is making 210. So basically the truck is making 210,000 miles, not you individually. A little bit of deceptive advertisement there. Let's see what else we got. A bunch of team stuff. They're really pushing for this team. All right, here we go. So we got a regional truck driver, Omaha, Nebraska, 45 to 63 cents per mile with 6 months of over-the-road experience. 6 days out, 2 days home. Okay, so basically you're running for almost a week and then you get the weekend home. And it's going to rotate around that week schedule, so you're not going to be exactly home on the weekend. So looking at this, let's go ahead and do the math. A regional, it sounds for Nebraska, you should be able to get a good 2,000 miles per week off of that. So let's go ahead and do some math here to figure out what that would be. Okay, so this is probably based off of experience. If you have that 6 month, you're probably at the 45. If you have probably 2-3 years of experience, they'll probably put you at that 63, which is actually really good, but the chances of them actually handing that out is probably pretty slim. So let's go ahead and do the math on it regardless. You're at 45 cents per mile times about 2,000 miles per week. I would think would be fair for a Northwest job and it being a regional job. So you're working for 6 days. That's going to net you $900 for the week. So that's at the bottom line here of the 45 cents per mile. So that is also before taxes. So you got to figure out how much your taxes are in that area and then figure out, you know, as far as how much you're actually going to bring home. So not a ton of money. It would be good for somebody with 6 months experience, but any more than that, you should probably be making some more. We'll go down the middle here and do 55 cents per mile for somebody with a year or two experience. We'll multiply that by 2,000 miles per week. And it pumps out $1,100. So a little bit more money for the week. You'll probably walk away with about $900 after taxes is done. Realistically, you could be over the road making more money or doing a local job where you're making hourly or something like that and do a little bit better than that. On this one, we're at about $1,260 a week, coming to you before taxes at 63 cents per mile on a regional job, which makes around 2,000 miles a week. So after taxes, you could probably walk away with probably about $1,000 for the week. So if they do give you the top pay, it's really not bad at all. That's actually a pretty good paycheck for the week for somebody that's out for a week, home for the weekend, out for a week, home for the weekend. All right, let's see if we can find one that's an actual over-the-road truck driver. Okay, so here's another deceptive advertising that I don't like. We're talking about a dedicated regional CDLA out of Ohio. Home weekly, they want 6 months of experience. It seems like everything they do, they want 6 months of experience. And then it shows how much you're gonna make. And a lot of people will just see these first two little bit here. $100,000 a year, that sounds fantastic on average. Okay, so that's where you gotta figure that in. All right, so based on looking at their website, I don't like some of the deceptive advertisement, but it's pretty standard in this industry. That's why you got to do your research to find out what's real and what isn't. And realistically, you won't know unless you are an experienced truck driver. So I'm glad you clicked on my channel to check it out and get my experience to know that you're not going to be making as much as what you think you would be making based off of these advertisements. All right, so I found this video online for night transportation, talking to a couple of their best trainers. So let's go ahead and take a look at that and see what they got to say and see if this helps our research out at all. Okay, so we got Israel and Joshua Bland, trainers.
I put him through the ringer, but I also, you know, I knew where I wanted to take him here at night. And if I didn't put him through the ringer, he wouldn't be able to stand up beside me and be proud to be one of the top trainers for the company. And he's not the only one that I put through the ringer.
Okay, so it sounds like this guy is a trainer and he's been a trainer longer and trained the other guy, and now the other guy is now a trainer.
Like that. There's a couple other students that I put through the ringer because I seen the potential they had and they needed more.
Well, if you want to be the best, you got to be trained by the best.
I started off with a different company, and it happens to too many new drivers. You get stepped into a new company, you don't know anything about the, trucking industry, and they lie to you, and they keep you there because you don't know any better. Well, eventually I found out better, and I came here. When I was working over there, I felt like I had a gun to my head. I couldn't make a move without somebody demanding me and forcing me to do
something I
didn't want to do. And then I came over here, and man, it's like family. Even my dispatch, he calls me and he asked me, hey, would you like to do this or would you rather do this? And I say, hey man, I need to get home. He said, absolutely, let me get on that. And it's not a front. It's everybody from the terminal.
Okay, so just to be clear, this is a video from Night Transportation. So, of course, they're only going to put out what's best to look for their company. I was kind of more interested to see what their training thing looks like.
All the way to the corporate level. Anybody I've ever come in contact with in this company, they're ready to reach out and they're ready to help you build your career. With my resume, I could work for any company in the U.S. without a problem. They would be rolling the red carpet out. And I choose here because they treat me good. They treat me like family.
I wanted to be a rock star, so I played music, guitar, and sang. I bombed and crashed at it. And Israel, he begged me for years to be a truck driver. Kept begging me. So I finally gave in and did it. And he trained me. We actually teamed for a little while. And I worked for some other companies. It's nothing like Knight. Knight has an amazing open door policy. The other companies I work for is a lot of failed promises. You may make more cents per mile, but you're not gonna get the miles that Knight gives you. He kept calling me. He said, man, I'm a trainer. He said, you can be a trainer. And he said, I promise you, you'll be successful. What he said was, I'll give you the keys to the kingdom. I said, all right, I'll come back. And they made me a trainer. It's been an amazing experience, and it's awesome being able to help.
Okay, so the thing with being a trainer, it's definitely a needed thing, but if your goal is to be a trainer, and you might have the personality for it, you may be good at teaching people things, but what I found in a lot of companies is they throw brand new drivers that don't have much experience into the training role, just because it's a little bit more money to be a trainer. But you also got to think that you guys got new people coming in and out of your home all the time, and you don't know their hygiene, you don't know how well of a driver they are, you don't know their personality type. So you got to be able to figure out their personality and connect with them on a different level. So that's the issue with being a trainer that I see. Let's carry on.
Succeed in their career is amazing. I was telling them a good leader trains leaders to trains leaders and be successful. And he trained me, and then I got to train somebody who's becoming a trainer. That's the whole goal, is keep creating that. Man, when they test out and pass, man, that give me a rush. It's almost like jumping out of an airplane, parachuting or something, man, that adrenaline rush. When my first student passed, I called him up, I was shaking, I was like, man, it was amazing.
You think that's fun?
Yeah.
Wait till you get a student that calls you and said, hey man, I got my first million. Hey man, I just started a trucking company, I got 4 trucks. Wait till that starts happening.
Yeah, that is very cool. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, coming from trainers, that's definitely a cool thing to be able to see somebody grow from nothing to being a successful driver. I don't doubt that that's cool. But again, this was published by Night Transportation itself. So of course, they're not going to say anything bad about the company. So let's go ahead and take a look at some other different information that we can find and see what we think about the company based off some more online research. Well, we're looking at Night Transportation's Google page here. Overall, they got a 3.4 stars out of 147 Google reviews. Now, this is the Atlanta location, So we're going to take a look at some of these reviews here and see what people got to say. 3.4 stars is not very good for a company. So we got a 3-star that says no gym. They're talking about the terminal there. 5 stars, please fix or replace the washers and dryers. So their terminal does have some issues, it looks like. This one's a 4-star from this guy. 5 months ago is when this one was written. I often leave reviews on bag trucking companies to let new and old drivers know who to avoid. Been trucking 20 years and can tell you about who's really bad. I just decided to look up Knight. I think I was there 4 to 7 months. I had none of the problems these 1-star people are talking about. From day one after orientation, I got a new truck. All of my dispatchers, managers were polite and very professional, probably because I presented myself to them the same way. You get what you give. Okay, so a 4-star review, you know, he's happy with it. Not really a whole lot of complaints. 1-star review here 6 months ago. They will lie to get you to violate your hours of service and have the worst attitudes you will ever deal with. Had another review here saying the same, but it disappeared. Too bad, I'll keep reposting it. So I went ahead and went over here to the headquarters location to see if I could see any reviews from there. 5 stars for Top Gun Academy and Mr. Lovey. I don't know what that means. Okay, we got a bunch of 5 stars here. So I recently completed my training at Knight Transportation in Phoenix, Arizona, and I can't express how incredible my experience was. Okay, so this is from somebody who just completed their training, which is good to hear from, especially for newer drivers. Everyone was so helpful and encouraging throughout the process. Brandy and Ivy were always there to support me, never let me give up on myself. They were incredibly encouraging and helpful. Mike was super funny and knowledgeable with a wealth of experience. He taught me so much. Okay, so it's just going through and talking about the specific people and how good they are. And last but definitely not least, Mr. Top Gun Lovey was super helpful. He came in earlier so I could practice my maneuvers, and I'll always remember and appreciate him for that. I'm so happy and grateful that I chose Knight Trucking. Everyone I encountered was helpful and super supportive. I highly recommend anybody looking to get their CDL to come to this school. Okay, so this might be just a school, and that's what that other comment was. I guess there's a guy named Top Gun Lovey. Okay, so this person left a 2-star review. It's basically talking about the quality of the terminal itself. It says, I'd rather stay at a rest area on the side of the interstate than stay here at HQ. Staff here, especially the people in the guard shack, are insanely disrespectful and rude. Must just be how people are out here in the West. So kind of a mixed bag on the reviews here, some good, some bad. We always got to take into consideration that some people get pissed off at companies just based off of the way they had their experience, and it's not always perfect information coming from reviews. It's ideally helpful to talk to a driver. When you can't get in contact with a driver, there's always plenty of resources here on YouTube that you could check out. There's plenty of other drivers sharing their experience, so we're going to go ahead and do that right now. This one is called Knight Transportation Paycheck Review, and it is by a guy named Puremirr, Puremirr. So go check out his video. I'll leave a link down in the description below, actually, so you can check out his video and watch it yourself. Let's see what he's got to say about his experience at Knight Transportation.
Supposed to get 56 cents per mile. I ended up getting 48 cents a mile.
Okay, so he said that he was supposed to get 56 cents per mile, but he was only getting 48. So the recruitment obviously didn't tell him the truth on what he was supposed to get, or there was another mix up there.
Running loads, I was never late. I was running. Somehow I just never got a check over $1,000, bro. Never got over $1,000.
Okay, so never getting a check over $1,000 if he's running really hard at 48 cents per mile. So let's go ahead and do some math on that. If he said he was running 48 cents per mile, and he is at he said he was running, so let's call it 2,500 miles for the week. That's $1,200. If you subtract taxes, that should be about what it's at. Now, if he went through their CDL school program, that might be a different factor to where they're repaying that back if he's got student loans, things like that. So that could bring that below $1,000.
Texas week, I was running at least over 2,300, 2,500 miles a week, and my check still wasn't hitting like that. You know what I'm saying? So, Knight Transportation is not a horrible company, but You know, because they have a lot of terminals in the U.S. So I like that they had a lot of terminals in the U.S. Communication was good.
Okay, so he's happy about that there's a lot of communication and a lot of terminals to go to. That's definitely a perk for some people. He is upset about how much money he was making over there, 48 cents per mile. It's not fantastic, but if he's only got 6 months experience, realistically, it's not terrible at all. The more experience you get, the better off you'll do. So based off of just the online research we've just done, I'd give it a C. Everything looks to be somewhat on the up and up. There's some complaints about pay and some reviews that are not looking very pretty. However, the more information that you have available to you, the better off you'll be.
We'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Thank you and have a good day.
I've made 3 attempts now to get a hold of Night Transportation's recruiting department to ask them some questions about their company, what they're offering, you know, as far as like their pay and whatnot. And it's kind of crazy that all 3 times I've gotten the voicemail. In my opinion, as a company in general, if you don't have somebody to answer the phone, it turns me off from your company to start with. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and call on this regional truck driver position out of Kansas City.
Night Transportation, you've reached your recruiting department. How can I help you today?
Yeah, I was calling to get some more information about a position that I found on your guys' website.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, what position was that?
I'm looking at a regional truck driver out of Kansas City, Kansas.
Certainly, yeah. Yeah, Kansas City's a great terminal. So, you live close to there, or where are you located?
Yeah, I live over on the opposite side of Kansas City into not Missouri, in Kansas.
Okay.
Oh no, it's showing in Kansas. Okay.
How much driving experience do you have?
I have the 6 months experience it's showing on here.
Okay. And who are you driving with now?
I am currently out of a job.
Okay.
So I was just calling around to a bunch of different places. I actually went through Warner's training program, and then you know they kind of let me go right after I was done with training for some stuff. So
Okay. So is your 6 months is with them, or did you go somewhere else after?
no, it was all through Warner.
Okay, gotcha. And how long ago did you leave?
It was just this week. This past week.
Yeah, I mean, it will just depend how they verify that. But you know, if it's not a policy violation or safety, anything like that, then we should be okay. If you got the full 6 months, then you'd qualify as experienced. If they cut you a little short on that time, you might have to do some modified training.
So what would that modified training look like with you guys?
Typically, if we verify somewhere between, just shy of 6 months, and we're just looking at usually like two weeks out with the co-driver. That's typically what that looks like. Okay, so for regional though, out of Kansas City, let's see. Which one were you looking at? Were you looking at the one that's like 6 out and 2 home, or did it say what those days look like?
Yeah, it's showing 5 days out, 2 days home.
Okay. Yep, we can do that. They're averaging about 2,200 miles a week on that one.
You said 2,200?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not dedicated, so it's just general dry van freight. So they're just trying to keep you in a small region around there where they can get you home after 5 days out.
Okay, and then just real quick, what is your guys' training like? Because I know over there with Warner it was a little bit wonky. What do you guys do for like training? Do you guys offer like CDL school or anything like that?
So you wouldn't have to go through a CDL school or anything, right? You already.
Yeah, I've already got it. I was
through
just curious because I got a buddy that I was talking about maybe teaming with him at some time, so I was wanting to find out like what it would be for him to get in, and so I'm trying to get some information for him too. And
Knight has a CDL school in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
If somebody's trying to go do that, they'd have to, I don't know the details. I know that he'd have to provide his own transportation down there. They can include hotel in the tuition amount. And, basically just be paying that back over time. I don't know all the details on the payments and things and how that works. I think they work it out from what I've heard to where like he only has to do like a small down payment, and then as long as he's with the company, I think we basically equal out or balance out payments. So it's like we give a reimbursement each week when he's due for payment. So it kind of comes out as I don't know if it's exactly zero or close to it or something like that. But so as long as he's with Knight, basically he's getting all the money back. I don't know the details on that, and then I know a lot of my drivers will just find like schools in the area so they don't have to travel, and we do a tuition reimbursement plan. So most of the guys that I hire that are new, they're going to a school close to home. Just as long as it's an accredited school that does at least 80 hours of instruction, then we'll be able to use that and then put them in with a trainer for between 4 to 6 weeks of training after they graduate. So.
And then you don't have any of the details on the tuition reimbursement and how that works out?
Yeah, the tuition reimbursement, I know. Like, so yeah, if he goes to a school, then there's also something you could look at is I've heard a lot of drivers will get help through different programs, grants and things where they don't even have to pay for the CDL school out of pocket. So that's always nice. But if they do end up having to pay for it and they're like on a payment plan, they just send us, once they're hired, they send us the receipt that shows the total tuition amount. And Knight will pay them an extra $35 a week. It's about $140 a month, right? To help them make those payments back to the school. So we pay it directly to the driver, not to the school. So the driver will still be making those payments, but we can, we're just kind of helping them out. And we don't have like a contract on that tuition reimbursement or anything. It's, as long as they're with Knight, we'll keep making those payments. If they leave before the total's paid back, then we just stop paying it. But they don't owe us anything back, So,
but there is a contract if you guys, if he were to go through truck driving school, like your guys' school in Phoenix.
I believe so. Yes. Now we also do have a training agreement that is for anyone coming through training, and that would apply if you if you end up needing like a refresher training. So it's just for both of you potentially. Hopefully not for you if we can verify the full 6 months, but for him definitely just to know that if anyone that's going to train with Knight, there's a form that you'd have to sign. You're basically just agreeing that you're going to stay with the company for 4 months after training or 30,000 solo miles. If you were to leave before that time frame, you just owe some training payback, which is just $2,000. You owe the company back.
Really?
We do pay while you're being trained. We pay while you're being trained at $650 a week. And then obviously we're paying the trainer and just through the hiring process and everything like that.
Okay, so a new driver would be responsible for paying for the training?
If they left before the 4 months was up after training. So just $2,000 that's not the full. The training cost is a lot more than that. It's just more of a deterrent really for people getting the training and then going to a company. What we were seeing, unfortunately, is drivers doing training and then going somewhere that didn't have trainers. And they were just telling them, hey, go get training somewhere and then we'll take you on. So it's just trying to deter that type of behavior. But yeah, you get paid. He would get paid while he's in training, $650 a week while he's with the trainer. The training agreement is just basically just a contract that you'll stay with the company for 4 months, right?
Right.
So the only time you'd owe any money is if you left before fulfilling that contract. And once he finishes the training, he's going to go solo and start earning. Most of my new drivers are going to be somewhere between around $1,100 a week before taxes. It's kind of typical. New drivers after training, they're going to make them do like more over the road.
Do you know what the cents per mile is, like the difference between the 6 month and somebody that's coming out of training, or is it the same?
Yeah, it's a couple cents different. So if we can verify your full 6 months, you would be at starting between 47 to 54 cents. So 47 cents would be the base rate for long hauls. Mid-length loads will pay 51 cents per mile. That's any loads between 200 to 300 miles. And the short hauls pay 54.
Okay, so that cents per mile is based off the distance of the trip itself.
Yep, distance of the trip. Yeah. And then brand new driver just out of training would just be a little bit lower. It'd be 45 cents for the base rate to 53 cents. So
45 to 53 cents, same thing, same deal with the distance of the trip.
Yep.
Okay. Is it about the same range for about a year? Somebody with a year experience?
Yeah, if you get to a year experience, are you saying like you're gonna wait to join us until you get a year, or
no? I would come on board with you guys and do just spend some time with you guys to see if it's, you know, because a lot of people sit and say stuff that it's not accurate as far as recruiters go. I'm not saying that you are or anything, but once you're in it, you know more.
No, for sure. That's accurate. So, so once you're hired, then we do pay raises every 100,000 miles. So it's just it's set into the system. So some drivers can get there in 8 to 10 months. You know, sometimes it's 12 months to get there. It just depends how many miles you're running. But yeah, it'll be an automatic 1 cent pay raise every 100,000 miles. So
okay, and then is there any like other pay, like layover or detention or unload pay or anything like that on top of the mileage?
Yeah, they do have detention or layover pay. So if you, dry vans mostly drop and hook, but there are going to be some live unloads. And so if you're more than 2 hours, then they will pay you. It's not a lot, like 14 an hour.
$14 an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
You said most is drop and hook, so.
Yeah, dry vans mostly drop and hook.
Is there a payment for doing it like per each drop and hook, or is it just straight miles?
Yeah, just straight miles on that. Yeah.
Okay. How long did you say the training was? 4 to 6 weeks.
So, yeah, between 4 to 6, just depending on the trainer and how much time they feel like they need. Usually, it's going to be about 2 weeks out at a time, and then get a break, back at home.
Solely based off of the trainer and filling it out. It's not like a mileage or time-based thing.
It is, the 4 weeks is the minimum. So, but yeah, 4 weeks. But like after that, it's just based on between the trainee and the trainer deciding, is he ready to test out? Does he want to focus or work on some other things?
I do have one other question, it's kind of an odd one. Do you have like any drivers that I could call and talk to and get their firsthand experience? Like I said, I'm coming off of Warner where I was kind of fibbed to about pay and stuff. I'm very skeptical about moving forward, especially with any of the big carriers and stuff. Do you guys have like a set of drivers that will be happy to take a call and find out what their experience is?
Yeah, let me check with some of my guys and see.
All right, man. I appreciate your time. Thanks for volleying all my questions here. I know I got a lot.
Sure. No worries there. All right, man. Yeah, we'll be in touch then.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. All right, well, that was a bit of a weird one. Just because it has 6 months of experience on that specific route, I wanted to make sure that he knew that I had 6 months of experience. I apologize for lying. I feel terrible. I hate doing that. But sometimes in order to get the information that you need, you got to play the game. It was a good chat with him, and I'm glad that I was able to finally get in contact with somebody. I made 3 attempts prior to that just to get a hold of somebody with no luck. Luckily, I was able to go online and find the specific job that it was looking for, look up an area code for that specific job, and call into that area code, and I was able to get to somebody. Based off of that call, we got a lot of math and stuff to go over and figure out what's the truth behind what was told to me. So number one, the $35 a week in tuition reimbursement, that's really not a ton, and it is coming back to the driver. I have had an experience personally with a company that I worked for where it really wasn't a tuition reimbursement like that. They added 1 or 2 cents per mile to your paycheck, but everybody all got the same amount. So it's kind of sketchy on that. So I'm quite hesitant about a tuition reimbursement situation. But let's go ahead and take a look at it here. The school that I went to back, almost 9 years ago now, it cost me $6,000 to go through school. So at $35 a week, let's figure out how much that is going to take to pay off. So 6,000 divided by $35 per week, it's going to take you 171 weeks in order to pay that back, if they are being honest and saying that you are getting $35 a week. So there's 52 weeks in a year. Let's go ahead and divide that by 52 weeks. So it's going to take you 3.29 years in order to pay this student loan off based off of their tuition reimbursement. So if your goal is to go to a company for their tuition reimbursement, you cannot solely rely on the tuition reimbursement. They're not going to pay back the full thing. Even though they're going to advertise that it is paying off your full thing, it's going to take you over 3 years to pay that back. So that's not a good game plan. It will help you for sure. Work on paying that off. This way, you don't have to worry about that and have that around your neck. Okay, so he was saying that the cents per mile was based off of how long the trip is, meaning if it's a longer trip, you get less cents per mile. If it's a shorter trip, you get more cents per mile. So what this does is it keeps people from only wanting to do the long haul stuff and turning away the short haul stuff. I don't think this is a terrible idea. However, it's going to balance out no matter what. So if you do a short one, it's not a big deal. If you do a longer one, you're still making more miles, but you're making less cents per mile. So it probably balances it out to where you're making about the same no matter what you're doing, which I think it's okay. I don't have an issue with that at all. Okay, so the detention pay that they're saying after 2 hours is at $14 per hour. That is quite low. Normally the average is about $20 to $25 an hour after that 2 hours. At $14 an hour, they're not going to care if you go over by 2, 3, 4 hours over that original 2 hours. It's not really much of a deterrent for the customer to get you out of there. $14 an hour, you can make about that much working at McDonald's. So I don't think that's quite right. You should probably be making a little bit more than $14 an hour for your detention pay. And remember, you got the first 2 hours for free. So anything you make, divide it by the total number of hours that you have sat there. So for $14 an hour divided by 3 hours is... So basically you've made less than minimum wage for sitting there for 3 hours. So if you go over the first 2 hours and you go in and completely do another third hour, that's the first time that you're going to get paid, and it has to go up to a whole nother hour before you'll get paid after that. So the detention on that, it's not very good at all. But like he said, the main goal is to be doing drop and hooks, and most of the over the road stuff is drop and hooks, which is great. You can run in, drop a trailer, grab another one, get your paperwork and get out of there. It definitely saves you a bunch of time to do drop and hooks. However, you're not getting paid for your time to do a dropping hook. It's simply the cents per mile, which varies depending on how long of a trip that you have. I do not like that they do not have any sort of drop and hook pay. It should be $10, $15, something like that. If their detention is $14 an hour, it should be comparable to that. Should take you about a half hour to do all that, and then you'll be on the road. So it's a little disappointing that they don't have any drop and hook pay. So the next thing we need to figure out is if the amount that you're making in the cents per mile and the amount that you're making on your mileage is going to match up to what they say that you're going to make per week before taxes. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So they were saying that you're going to make about 2,200 miles a week, and let's just multiply that by the low end of the 47 cents per mile. Oh, a little too hard there. 47 cents per mile. You're at $1,034 a week, and they were saying it was $1,100 a week before taxes. So that's actually pretty close to being right on cue there. So they weren't being dishonest with that, which is good to know. And of course, if you do more miles than the 2,200 or less miles, it'll vary that a little bit. And the more experience or the longer trip or whatever, that's going to get you a little bit different number there too. So after talking to the recruiter and doing some of the math to break down what he was talking about, I'm still at about a C+, maybe creeping into a B a little little bit, but we still need more information. We're going to go ahead and call a driver that's currently working for Night and see what his experience has been working for them to find out for sure from firsthand experience whether it's a good company to go to work for or not. Okay, well, I was just wanting to find out a little bit about Night Transportation, at least from your perspective and stuff, and see what you think about the company and if it's worth going over there.
Okay, in order for me to help you in terms of what you're looking for, where your goals are, where you at, that kind of stuff, how long you been in the industry?
I don't know what Mr. Richard told you over there, but I'm actually I've got 8 years as a truck driver, coming up on 9. I am actually doing more of a research thing right now than actually looking for a company to go and work with. I run a small YouTube channel and I do deep dives onto companies to find out what's real and what's not, and if it's worth going to work for that company. And I give an honest opinion based off of my experience and doing the research that I do to find out, what I could find out about them. So that's what this is a part of.
I understand.
So did you get your CDL through Night, or did you go through a private institution? I mean, you said you've been driving for 16 years, so it's been a long time.
I know. I guess I got greedy on holding on to that wheel.
Yeah. Either that or the wheel's holding on to you one way or another, right?
Much less the wheel, maybe the open road.
That's true.
I could have done many things where I'm coming from, many things, but I just chose a more humble approach to serve many. If you think about it, I mean, everybody calls it a truck driver. It should be called Global Supply Chain Operations Specialist. I just can tell you with all my experience, no, I did not get my license attached with the company that is attached with my name. I did get my license through the company that been founded by Chester and Robert England way back when.
Okay, so CR England. Okay, gotcha. Very cool.
Correct. So you know who I'm talking of.
I do indeed. So how long have you been? How long have you been with Night then?
Actually, fairly recently for them, last year November.
So you've been with them for 4 months?
Sounds about right.
Okay.
And from all my experience overall in the industry, I know many things, especially when it comes about mega carriers and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But as for me, personally, I have nothing but the highest respect in any department of it. Now, given it is a mega carrier, given they do things a little bit different as far as freight lanes goes and how they split lanes in terms of miles and this kind of stuff down throughout the entire week, it seems like you're only doing what would be considered regional haul mile or something like that if you're coming from the industry, not looking at the overall picture. However, there's a system behind that madness, given how many trucks, power units on the fleet versus the trailers available versus the different departments. I myself, pull-now driver, and I used to do hazmat, refrigerated, specialized. Keeps me rolling. I'm getting, depending on the area, a little bit lesser miles than what I normally get.
Over the last, let's say 3-4 weeks or so, about what's your average miles? How many miles have you driven per week?
So the last month, I want to say, look, I know the odometer miles are driven more just because it's zip code to zip code, the pay scale. That does not necessarily always match with your truck routing navigation.
But that's what they're going to pay you is based off of that. I understand.
Exactly.
Okay. And you say are you thinking more like 2,000, 2,500 per week?
Well, my manager, which is the terminal manager, I told him flat out 2,500 miles, not on average, 2,500 on a week. Anything over, I take gladly. If it's a little under, I understand. It depends on the area and whatnot. I'm not tripping. But I get no less than close to 2,000 miles on my bad weeks. And outside of that, I'm on the right about the 2,500 mile week. sometimes a little bit more. Payroll cutoff officially would be Mondays, but anything that you finalize on Tuesdays in the same week and call payroll during their business hours, Arizona local time, you can request to have those miles manually processed and be in the same week on that check in your account.
Gotcha.
If you choose not to do that, then already that starts your next pay week. Basically, those miles you can then mentally already add and count to about, the following week.
Right.
If you're willing to roll, never turn on any loads does not mean it may only be to get you into an area to have something better to come out of. Everything you turn in that time averages out to whichever your max baseline is where you got hired on. With the incentives that are not easy just handed out, you have to be productive, you have to stay to the suggested fuel stops, if you will. Outside of your fuel bonus, they have like a smart safety score thing that's attached to a forward-facing camera. If you as much as 1 mile per hour above the speed limit, toasting with these auto shift trucks that kick in neutral out of your control,
Right.
If somebody cuts in front of you, that thing buzzes off and you're not quick enough gaining that distance, it throws points onto you and inducts you for following too close and over speed, even if it's 1 mile per hour over.
Okay, so they utilize the camera for more than just the camera's purposes. They're monitoring your driving and driving habits and penalizing you if you're not being a good driver.
You're supposed to keep always that minimum of 1 football field between you and the following vehicle.
Any big city, that's not going to happen.
But it resets once a month, every month, and recalculates, readjusts to a different score, depending on how you did, how often that camera went off.
How difficult is it to achieve that bonus?
It depends on how aggressive of a driver you are.
I mean, fair point. Well, let me ask a different question then. Out of your time there in the last 4 months, you said it resets every month. Out of those 4 months, how many times have you got the safety bonus? With 16 years driving experience, I figure you'd be a pretty damn good driver, right?
Well, I am. The recent month or the last month, I didn't get it, but that was because of Chicago thing. Traffic stopped suddenly in front of me, and I was rolling with the flow, and that is when I went from a score of 5 up to a score of 70, damn near. And then from California on, it kept just going up. So
Gotcha.
I'm like at over 80 something.
So at one point, whenever you messed up, then it's just whatever after that.
Yeah, from there it's pretty hard to bring it down till it got reset.
Gotcha.
And then you just have to keep at it. It's based on the miles you drive.
Yeah, it sounds like it's based on a lot of stuff. The miles, the fuel, the potential hazards that you come across that may or may not be your fault, but because you're the driver, it becomes your fault.
You don't necessarily have to drive. The longer you're with the company, the more options become available. You can, move from driving force into operations. From driving force, learn the trades of diesel techs or something of that sort. It's not like you onboard as a driver and that's where you're stuck.
Well, let me ask you, so when you started over there with them, did you have to go through any training or anything, or did they just put you in a truck because you got such a high level of experience?
Required orientation stuff. Outside of that,
Right.
nothing.
Okay, cool.
I had to wait a little longer because, my hair sample got off my legs. I don't carry enough on my upper hair front, so that's the worst spot you ever want to take a hair sample for drug screening. It takes the longest to get the results back.
Right. Now, how
Which is
you
fair
said you're
point.
on a dedicated route, right?
No, not dedicated. I'm in an over-the-road position, which means this truck is being used to fill in whichever lanes and freights. So sometimes I feel like it's running dedicated regional just because on the areas I'm bouncing back and forth at.
Right.
Other times I get into a different area and then I'm stuck into that area.
Now, you said if you're over the road, you've only been with them for 4 months. So how often are you able to get home? Are you trying to get home more than what I'm asking is how difficult is it to get home time?
It's not difficult, difficult at all. Excuse me.
So if you call them up and say, hey, I need to go home as soon as possible, they're getting you home within, a couple of days, 2, 3, 4 days.
Well, it depends on where you at, too. I mean, for me being here out on the West Coast, and I knew when I needed to get home, I gave him 2 weeks advance notice, which he's aggressively now working on getting me home. I see that in the pre-plans, because my second load after this next load already has me pretty much back in my own turf.
And will this be the first time you've tried to go home since you started?
No, I go home once a month.
Okay.
I always go home without a fail. Sometimes even a day earlier than I wanted to, and stay a day longer than I asked for.
Okay, so they're really good about home time. That's good.
They're really good about this work-life balance thing, and they prefer you to, if you don't feel safe driving for any reason, shut down, communicate, a load can get rescheduled. Bad things just cost money.
Right.
So safety, they are the number one. They overdo the safety thing out of any other carrier I ever worked with.
And now, as far as like your logs and stuff, what kind of equipment are they using? Are they using Qualcomm or?
Well, no, they used, it's called GeoTab, which I've been using now on an electronic log.
GeoTab, T-A-B?
GeoTab.
Okay,
correct.
Gotcha.
So it's that new software they're using now. The interface, you have to do a few more steps than the other system as far as login and first login concern, stuff like that. But in overall, it seems to work a little better. It has here and there still some boo-boos, which I noticed, where, tells me I'm connected everywhere, but it cannot find a truck. So the engine hour in relation to distance driven will show off if I get an inspection on it.
Right.
So, but then it recorrects itself, but the same problem was with the other system. So I guess as far as E-Log, me personally, in all my career, whenever they came out, Qualcomm was the one that never actually really messed up.
Yeah.
I'm at 56 cents a mile. That's the cap out. 501 miles and over is 56 cents a mile. Anything lower, the cents per mile rate goes up.
Okay, so that 56 cents is your over-the-road long distance miles. Anything else
correct.
Is more. It seems like they're relatively honest about what they're offering and what they're paying and all that. It doesn't seem to be.
Yeah, I haven't found any gimmicks out. I mean, equipment is what it is. That's kind of like a hit and miss. It is really true. Knight bought and owned Swift.
It is true.
It is true. It is not the other way around.
Oh, so Knight owns Swift, not Swift owns Knight.
Correct. For those that come on with no experience to a carrier like this, a lot of YouTubers, other influencers may try to tell them that just get your CDL and you're gonna be a millionaire in no time. That's not how that works.
No. And I definitely don't tell my audience that. There is money to be made in it, but you absolutely have to serve some time in the industry and get your gills wet and whatnot.
I take it you retired then as a driver.
No, I'm a lot more local driver now. Now I do this YouTube thing quite a bit, as well as still drive. I do dump trucks and roll off trucks right now. So I've been around quite a bit.
I had a little bit flatbed myself in my career.
It was fun. I love that. Well, Sir Dominic, I think that's about it. I think that's all the questions that I have for you. I mean, from talking to you, it seems like at least at minimum, whether it's a good thing or bad thing, for better or for worse, that they are honest about how much you're actually going to make.
If you're not willing to put in the work and just expect handouts, then no carrier will be good for you or no industry.
That's true. You're a very knowledgeable man. I could tell it just by talking to you that you know your stuff. So It was definitely very good talking to you, and make sure you stay safe out there and keep making that money, yeah? All right, my friend. Take care. Thanks for chatting with me.
Yeah, all right. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was a great conversation with Sir Dominic, a fellow driver with 16 years of experience, and he's still choosing to go and work for a company like Knight Transportation, a mega carrier, and he does say that they're treating him quite well. They're getting him home on time, they're paying him like he's supposed to, and getting him enough miles. So one of the big negatives that I heard in my conversation with Sir Dominic is that they're using the forward-facing cameras not for the purpose of protecting the truck and the company in case of an accident. It seems like their main focus is to promote driver safety, but in order to do that, they're going about it in a bad way. And by a bad way, meaning that they're promoting safety bonuses, but they're pulling it away from drivers just because stuff that happens out on the road is happening, such as drivers jumping out in front of you to where you're going to have to slam on your brakes, hard braking, or the following distance in big cities like Chicago and Atlanta. Those are all things that are counted against you when it comes time for your safety bonus. It doesn't sound like they're doing a great job of reviewing the camera footage to find out whether it's just normal things that happen or if it's bad driving behaviors. And what's happening is when drivers know that there was a mistake where a driver jumped out in front of them and they lost their following distance score, they give up on the idea of having a safety bonus for the month, and then they let it go. I don't mind having dash cams. I really don't, and I encourage everybody to get one, specifically get one for yourself, not just what the company has, because often companies will try to use that dash cam to work against you and not for you. It's there to protect their butt, not yours. So get your own dash cam. I got links down below. All right, so we've done our online research, we've talked to a driver recruiter and got more information about the company, and we've also talked to an actual driver that's currently working for Knight Transportation. We've got so much information from all of this research that we've done, and now it's time to answer the big question: would I go to work for Knight Transportation? And let me just say before I reveal my answer to that question, one of the biggest factors in my choice was my conversation with Sir Dominic, the driver that's currently working for Knight Transportation. With 16 years in the trucking industry, that's a lot of time to know all the ins and outs, all the lies, and all the false promises that are often given by different companies, as well as enough time in the industry to know what is appropriate to accept from a company and what is not. So would I go work for Knight Transportation? And the answer, based off of my research, is yes. They do have a couple of issues that I'm a little bit leery about, and that's using that forward-facing camera to determine the safety bonus, as well as a little bit unpredictable mileage for the week. And that contract up front for the training seems a little bit sketchy to me, but I understand the reasoning behind it. So during the 4 to 6 weeks of training, you are only making $650 a week before taxes. That is not a lot of money, so make sure that you have enough financial savings in order to get into this in trucking before you go start with Knight as your first job. If you've been doing it for a while, then you should be all right and you won't need to go through that training. But it seems like it's a flat rate of $650 a week for the training period, so you don't have to worry about getting a ton of miles. Just worry about getting the experience that you need. Some of the big positives that I've seen, though, is the fact that they are willing to get you home when you ask to be home. They're being very honest and upfront about their pay scale if you call them and talk to them. It definitely seems like they're being upfront and honest with what they are offering. You just got to know the correct questions to ask. If you're curious about what questions those are and you couldn't write them down from this video, I've done a different video that explains exactly what questions you need to ask the recruiters to find out the most amount of information for any company that you're interested in working for. Leave me a comment down below to let me know if there's any other companies that you want me to do a deep dive on just like this. And if you haven't seen my Warner deep dive video, that's a great one too, where we basically do the same exact thing. Click this button right here. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. All right, bye.